1180s. The 1180s was a decade of the Julian calendar which began on January 1, 1180 and ended on December 31, 1189. Events 1180 by place by place Byzantine Empire. September 24, Emperor Manuel I Komnenos dies after a 37-year reign at Constantinople. He is succeeded by his 11-year-old son Alexios Roman II, who will reign briefly as ruler of the Byzantine Empire with his mother, Maria of Antioch, as regent until 1183. Maria takes as her advisor-lover Alexios Komnenos, a nephew of Manuel, causing a scandal among the Byzantine population. Europe. January 13, Henry the Lion, Duke of Saxony, loses his Saxon and Bavarian duchies and all his imperial fiefs at an imperial diet in Würzburg for having breached the king's peace. Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa issues the Gelnhausen Charter on April 13. He breaks up Henry's former domain. One part of Saxony has renamed the Duchy of Westphalia, and other parts are given to his ally Otto I the Redhead, Duke of Bavaria. September 18, King Louis Roman VII the Younger dies after a 43-year reign at Paris. He is succeeded by his 15-year-old son Philip Roman II, who becomes sole ruler of France until 1223. The Portuguese Admiral D. Fuas Rupenho wins a second victory in 2 years against the Almohad fleet. The assembly, traditionally regarded as the first sejm of the Kingdom of Poland, convenes at Lexico approximate date. England. Portsmouth is founded by the Norman merchant Jean de Gysers, establishing a trade route between England and France approximate date. Levant. Summer King Baldwin Roman IV the Leper sends messengers to Saladin with proposals of a peace treaty. Because of a terrible drought, the whole of Syria is faced with famine. Saladin agrees to a 2 years' truce. Raymond of Tripoli denounces the truce, but is compelled to accept after an Ayyubid fleet raids the port of Tartus. Saladin intervenes in a quarrel between the Zangids of Mosul and the Artukids. He convinces the Seljuks of the Sultanate of Rum not to interfere and raids Cilician Armenia. Baldwin Roman IV marries his sister Sibylla to Guy of Lusignan, brother of the constable Amalric of Lusignan, and enfeoffed him with the county of Jaffa and Ascalon. Asia. March 18, Emperor Takakura is forced to abdicate by Taira no Kiyomori after a 12-year reign. He is succeeded by his 2-year-old son Antoku as Emperor of Japan until 1185. Kiyomori rules in his name as regent. Genpei War. Prince Machihito begins a revolt against the Taira clan. In support, Minamoto no Yorimasa sends out a call for aid, and to the monasteries Enryaku-ji, Meidira, and others that Kiyomori has offended. June 20, Battle of Uji. Machihito and Minamoto no Yorimasa went into hiding in the Byodo-in temple. There, they seek help from the warrior monks to join the battle, but are defeated and killed by the Taira forces. September 14, Battle of Ishibashiyama. Taira forces 3,000 men under Oba Kagechika defeat Minamoto no Yoritomo during a night attack near Mount Fuji, modern-day Odawara, but he flees by sea to Chiba. November 10, Battle of Fujigawa. Minamoto forces 30,000 men under Minamoto no Yoritomo defeat Taira no Koromori during a night attack near the Fuji River, but he escapes safely with the routed army. By topic. Culture. Alexander Neckham becomes a lecturer in Paris and writes De Natura Rerum, an early mention of chess approximate date. Demography. Hangzhou, capital of southern Song China, becomes the largest city of the world, taking the lead from Fez in the Almohad Caliphate. 1181. By place. By place. Europe. King Philip Roman II Augustus annuls all loans made by Jews to Christians and takes a percentage for himself. A year later, he confiscates all Jewish property and expels the Jews from Paris. Philip Roman II begins a war against Philip of Alsace, Count of Flanders, over the Vermandois. He claims the territory for his wife Isabella of Hainault as her dowry. Philip is unwilling to give it up. Henry the Lion, Duke of Saxony, submits to Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa at an imperial diet in Erfurt. He is banished to England and retains only Brunswick among his former lands. King Bela Roman III of Hungary and Croatia goes to war with Venice in an effort to recover Dalmatia. The city of Zadar, located on the Adriatic Sea, accepts Bela's suzerainty. After a series of defeats, the Almohad fleet, under the Admiral Ahmad al-Sikili, crushes the Portuguese navy and reasserts its control over the Atlantic Ocean. The word Albigensians is first used by Geoffroy de Bulle of Vigies, French abbot and chronicler, to describe the inhabitants of Albi in southern France. England. King Henry Roman II removes Hugh de Lacy, Lord of Meath, from his position as Procurator of Ireland, possibly because of his having married the daughter of High King Uadri Ua Conchobar. Levant. Summer Rainald of Chatelain, Lord of Outrejourdain, raised Saladin's territory, reaching as far as Tabuk, modern Saudi Arabia, on the route between Damascus and Mecca. In November, Saladin sends an expedition under his nephew, Farrukh Shah, who invades Outrejourdain. Rainald of Chatelain is forced to withdraw home. Saladin complains to King Baldwin Roman IV of Jerusalem the Leper for breaking the treaty c. 1180 and demands compensation. Asia. March 20, Tera no Kiyomori, Japanese military leader and dictator, dies at Kyoto. He established the first samurai-dominated administrative government in Japan. Jayavarman Roman VII defeats the Chams and assumes control over the Khmer Empire, modern Cambodia. The Yao era is marked by famine in Japan during the period from July 1181 through May 1182. By topic. Religion. August 30, Pope Alexander Roman III dies after a 22-year pontificate at Rome. He is succeeded by the Tuscany-born Lucius Roman III as the 171st Pope of the Catholic Church. Science. January, William Roman VIII of Montpellier frees the teaching of medicine from any monopoly in France, an origin of the University of Montpellier. Chinese and Japanese astronomers observe what has come to be understood as supernova SN 1181, one of only 8 supernovae in the Milky Way observed in recorded history. It appears in the constellation Cassiopeia and is visible in the night sky for about 185 days. The radio source 3C58 was thought to be the remnant from this event, but opinion is shifting towards the recently discovered nebula Pa-30 Ref, Arxiv 2105.12384. 1182. By place. By place. Byzantine Empire. April massacre of the Latins. The Roman Catholic called Latin inhabitants of Constantinople massacre the Venetian, Genoan, and other Latin officials and traders who rule as agents of Empress Maria of Antioch. She is the mother and regent of 12-year-old Emperor Alexios Roman II. In August, Andronikos Komnenos, a cousin of Maria's late husband, Emperor Manuel I Komnenos, raises an army and enters the city, representing himself as the protector of Alexios. He is proclaimed as co-emperor under the name Andronikos I, and has Maria imprisoned and later condemned to be strangled, forcing a signature from Alexios to put his mother to death. September, Alexios Roman II is murdered after a 3-year reign at Constantinople. The 64-year-old Andronikos I is proclaimed emperor of the Byzantine Empire before the crowd on the terrace of the Church of Christ of the Chalk. He marries Alexios' widow, the 11-year-old Agnes of France, and makes in November a treaty with Venice in which he promised a yearly indemnity as compensation for Venetian losses during the massacre of the Latins. Levant, May 11. Saladin leads an Egyptian expeditionary force from Cairo to Syria. In June, he arrives in Damascus and learns that his nephew Farak Shah has raided Galilee and sacked the villages near Mount Tabor. On his way back, Farak Shah attacks the fortress of Habas Jaldak. The garrison Christian Syrians, with no great wish to die for the Crusaders, promptly surrenders. July-August Battle of Belvoir Castle. Saladin crosses into Palestine round the south of the Sea of Galilee. King Baldwin Roman IV the Leper of Jerusalem marches with his army back from Altrajordain and attacks the Saladin's forces near Belvoir Castle, modern Israel. In a fierce battle, the Crusaders successfully repel Saladin's invasion. At the end of the day, each side retired, claiming the victory. August Saladin sends an Egyptian fleet to blockade Beirut and leads his forces in the Bekaa Valley. The city is strongly fortified, and Baldwin Roman IV rushes with his army up from Galilee, only pausing to collect the ships that lay in the harbors of Acre and Tyre. Failing to take Beirut by assault before the Crusaders arrived, Saladin breaks of the siege and withdraws. September, Saladin invades the Jazira region, ending the truce between him and the Zengids. After a feint attack on Aleppo, he crosses the Euphrates. The towns of the Jazira fall before him. The cities of Edessa, Saraj, and Nizibin are captured. In October, Saladin presses on to Mosul and begins the siege of the city on November 10. November, al-Nasir, Caliph of the Abbasid Caliphate, is shocked by the war between fellow Muslims and tries to negotiate a peace. Saladin, thwarted by the strong fortifications of Mosul, retreats to Sinjar. He marches to conquer Diyarbakir, the richest and the greatest fortress of the Jazira region, with the finest library in Islam. December, Baldwin Roman IV raids through the Hauran and reaches Basra, while Raymond of Tripoli recaptures Habas Jaldak. A few days later, Baldwin sets out with a crusader force to Damascus and encamped at Daria in the suburbs. He decides not to attack the city and retires laden with booty to spend Christmas at Tyre. Winter, Raynald of Chatelain, Lord of Altrajordain, orders the building of 5 ships which are carried to the Gulf of Aqaba at the northern end of the Red Sea. Part of his fleet makes a raid along the coast, threatening the security of the holy cities on Pharaoh's Island or Isle de Grey. Europe. Spring, King Philip Roman II Augustus confiscates all the lands and buildings of the Jews and expels them from Paris. The measures are profitable in the short term, the ransoms alone bringing in 15,000 marks and enriching Christians at the expense of Jews. 99 Jews are burned alive in Brecumte Robert. May 12, King Valdemar I the Great dies after a 28-year reign in which he has gained independence from the Holy Roman Empire. He is succeeded by his 19-year-old son Canute VI, who becomes ruler of Denmark. Mieszko Roman III the Old, Duke of Greater Poland, agrees with his son Adon of Poznan to divide the territories between them. Mieszko holds his western lands and Adon receives the eastern lands south of the river Abra. May-June, Bela Roman III, King of Hungary, ravages the region of Belgrade and Barinck's modern-day Branislav. Meanwhile, Serbia allies itself with Hungary to gain independence. September 14, Legend of Nazareth, Domfeu Rupenho, Alcalde of Porto Damas, is inspired by a Marian miracle to erect the sanctuary of Our Lady of Nazareth overlooking Nazareth, Portugal. Later this year, while trying to enter by surprise the harbor of Ceuta to sink Muslim ships, he is spotted and killed. A Sicilian attempt to dislodge the Moorish fleet from Majorca fails. England. William Marshal, Norman knight and head of the household of Henry the Young King, is accused of having an affair with Henry's wife, Queen Margaret of France. Although contemporary chroniclers doubt the truth of these accusations, Henry starts the process to have his marriage annulled. William leaves the royal retinue, undergoing a period of self-imposed exile, and goes on a pilgrimage to Cologne. Asia. May the Yao era marked by famine ends during the reign of Emperor Antoku in Japan. By topic. Religion. The Maronite Church reestablishes its affiliation with the Roman Catholic Church. 1183. By area. Byzantine Empire. Andronicus I Comnenus becomes Byzantine emperor. October. Alexios Roman II Komnenos is murdered after a 3-year reign at Constantinople. The 64-year-old Andronikos I is proclaimed emperor of the Byzantine Empire before the crowd on the terrace of the Church of Christ of the Chalk. He marries Alexios' widow, the 11-year-old Agnes of France, and makes in November a treaty with Venice in which he promised a yearly indemnity as compensation for Venetian losses during the massacre of the Latins. Europe. June 25, the Peace of Constance is signed between Frederick Barbarossa and the Lombard League, forming the legal basis for the autonomy of the Italian city republics. Joseph of Exeter writes the first account of a sport resembling cricket. Asia. Japan. 3-year-old Emperor Go-Toba ascends to the throne of Japan after the forced abdication of his brother Emperor Antoku during the Genpei War. August 14, Terra no Munemori and the Terra clan take the young Emperor Antoku and the 3 sacred treasures and flee to western Japan to escape pursuit by the Minamoto clan. Traditional Japanese date, 25th day of the 7th month of the 2nd year of Jui. November 17, Battle of Mizashima. The Terra clan defeats the Minamoto clan. Near East. February. Reynold of Chatelain has at least 5 ships freighted over the Isthmus of Suez, which he then uses to pillage the shores of the Red Sea as far as the gates of Mecca. William of Tyre is excommunicated by the newly appointed Heraclius of Jerusalem, firmly ending their struggle for power. The siege of Korak is waged between the Ayyubids and the Crusaders, in which Regent Guy of Lusignan refuses to fight. Saladin conquers Syria and becomes sultan. 1184. By place. Europe. May 20, Diet of Pentecost. Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa organizes a conference in Mainz. During the Diet, Frederick negotiates with Henry the Lion about an anti-French alliance with England. June 15, Battle of Fimrate. King Sverre of Norway defeats and kills his rival, Magnus V. Erlingsson, near Fimrate. Sverre takes the throne and becomes sole ruler of Norway until 1202. Summer Almohad forces reconquer the Alentejo except for Evora and besiege Lisbon on land and blockade the port with their navy. A Portuguese soldier manages to swim to the largest ship of the fleet and to sink it. This ship was so tall, it would have allowed the Muslims to easily reach the walls of the city. The next day, the Almohads have to retreat, taking with them a number of civilian captives. Siege of Santerme. Almohad forces under Caliph Abu Yaqub Yusuf march towards Badajoz and besiege Santerme, which is defended by King Afonso I the Conqueror. Upon hearing of Abu Yusuf's attack, Ferdinand Roman II of Leon marches his army to Santerme to support his father-in-law, Afonso. Abu Yusuf, in an attempt to break the siege, is wounded by a crossbow bolt and dies on July 29. October 29, the 18-year-old Prince Henry, eldest surviving son of Frederick I, is engaged to Princess Constance, heiress to the Kingdom of Sicily, at Augsburg in the Episcopal Palace. The city of Abbeville receives its commercial charter by King Philip Roman II Augustus. England. The first royal ordinance, demanding that the Knights Templar and Hospitaller assist in the collection of taxes, is promulgated. King Henry Roman II encourages his youngest and favorite son John to seize Aquitaine from his brother Richard. May a serious fire damages Glastonbury Abbey and destroys several buildings. Africa. May Berber forces under Ali Banu Ghania seize by surprise the Almohad cities of Algiers, Majaya and Constantine, while he is away from his base in Mallorca. one of his brothers, Mohammed, takes control of the island and calls in the Almohads, who intend to capture Majorca for themselves. Banu Ganyu arrives just in time to defeat the Almohads and recapture the island. August 10, Abu Yusuf Yaqub al-Mansur is proclaimed the new caliph of the Almohad Caliphate, after his father Abu Yaqub Yusuf is killed in Portugal. Levant. Saladin sends his nephew is al-Din Uzama, governor-emir of the iron-rich mountains near Beirut, to build Ajloun Castle, which controls the trade along the road between Damascus and Egypt. Asia. February 19, Second Battle of Uji. Japanese forces under Minamoto no Yoshinaka are defeated by his cousins Minamoto no Yoshitsune and Minamoto no Yoritomo for the control of Japan. February 21, Battle of Awazu. Minamoto no Yoshinaka is killed during a pursuit by his cousin's armies. He is joined by his foster brother, Imai Kane Hira, who commits suicide. March 20, Battle of Akai no Tani. Japanese forces under Minamoto no Noriyori defeat the Terra clan at a Kyuta shrine in the woods of Setsu province during the Genpei War. By topic. Food. Earliest mention of Gouda cheese originating from the Netherlands. Religion. The papal bull Edibolendum is issued against several European heretical groups, the Cathars, the Waldensians, the Patarines, Josephines, and the Humiliati. It is created after a landmark meeting in Verona between the Holy Roman Empire under Frederick I and the Catholic Church under Pope Lucius Roman III. 1185. By place. By place. Byzantine Empire. August King William Roman II the Good lands in Epirus with a Siculo-Norman expeditionary force of 200 ships and 80,000 men including 5,000 knights, and marches as far as the Byzantine city of Thessalonica, which he takes and pillages, massacring some 7,000 Greek citizens. September 1112 Isaac Roman II Angelos leads a revolt in Constantinople and deposes Emperor Andronikos Icomenos. Andronikos tries in vain to flee across Asia, but he is captured and killed by an angry mob. Isaac is proclaimed emperor, ending the Komnenos dynasty. November 7 Battle of Demetritzes. A reinforced Byzantine army under Alexios Branas decisively defeats William Roman II, ending his invasion of the Byzantine Empire. Thessalonica is recaptured, and the Normans are pushed back to Italy. Many Norman ships are lost to storms. Peter and John Asen lead a revolt of the Vlachs and Bulgars against the Byzantine Empire, eventually establishing the Second Bulgarian Empire. Levant. March 16, the 23-year-old King Baldwin Roman IV the Leopard dies of leprosy after a 10-year reign. He is succeeded by his 8-year-old nephew, Baldwin V, as the sole ruler of Jerusalem under the regency of Count Raymond of Tripoli. The child king becomes a pawn in the politics of the kingdom, between his mother Sibylla of Jerusalem, sister of Baldwin Roman IV, and her younger half-sister Isabella I. Saladin agrees to a 4-year truce due to severe drought and famine which has struck Palestine. The treaty is signed by Count Raymond of Tripoli and important nobles from Jerusalem. Commerce is renewed between the Crusader states and their Muslim neighbors. A flow of corn from the east saved the Crusaders and the population from starvation. England. April King Henry Roman II knights his son and heir, the 18-year-old John of England, and sends him to Ireland, accompanied by 300 knights and a team of administrators, to enforce English control. He treats the local Irish rulers with contempt by making fun of their unfashionable long beards. Failing to make allies amongst the Anglo-Norman settlers, the English army is unable to subdue the Irish fighters in unfamiliar conditions, and the expedition soon becomes a complete disaster. By the end of the year, John returns to England in defeat. Nonetheless, Henry gets him named King of Ireland by Pope Urban Roman III and procures a golden crown with peacock feathers. April 15, 1185 East Midlands earthquake occurs. It is the first earthquake in England for which there are reliable reports indicating the damage. Europe. July Treaty of Boves. King Philip Roman II signed a treaty to ensure his authority over his vassals, with Amiens, Artois, and other places in northern France passing to him. Philip is given the nickname Augustus by the Montregord for augmenting French lands. August 15, the cave monastery of Vardziye, consecrated by Queen Tamar the Great. She marries Yuri Bogolyubsky, Grand Prince of Novgorod. September, Henry Roman III the Lion, Duke of Saxony, returns to Germany after being banished for 3 years by Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa. December 6, King Afonso I the Great dies after a 36-year reign. He is succeeded by his son Sancho I the Populator as ruler of Portugal. Igor Sviatoslavich's failed campaign against the Cumans, later immortalized in the tale of Igor's campaign, takes place this year. Africa. The Almohad forces under Caliph Abu Yusuf Yaqub al-Mansur reconquer Bijaya and Algiers, that has been taken by the Banu Ghaniya, descendants of the Almoravids. Asia. March 22, Battle of Yashima. Japanese forces, some 30,000 horses under Minamoto no Yoshitsune, defeat the Terra clan just off Shikoku in the Seto Inland Sea. April 25, Battle of Dan no Yura. The Japanese fleet, some 300 ships led by Minamoto no Yoshitsune, defeats the fleet of the Terra clan in the Shimonoseki Strait. December, retired Emperor Go Shuriko grants Minamoto no Yoritomo the authority to form the first Bakufu shogunate in Japan, ending the Genpei War. By topic. Astronomy. May 1, the solar eclipse of 1 May 1185, visible across Central America, Northern and Eastern Europe, and Kazakhstan occurs. Markets. Evidence is first uncovered that Henry Roman II is using the safes of the Temple Church in London, under the guard of the Knights Templar, to store part of his treasure. Religion. November 25, Pope Lucius Roman III dies after a 4-year pontificate at Verona. He is succeeded by Urban Roman III as the 172nd Pope of the Catholic Church until 1187. 1186. January 27, Constance of Sicily marries Henry, the future Henry VI, Holy Roman Emperor. John the Chanter becomes Bishop of Exeter. The Byzantine Empire recognizes the independence of Bulgaria and Serbia. Josias becomes Archbishop of Tyre. Jayavarman Roman VII, the King of Cambodia, founds the Temple of Ta Prohm. After the death of the child King Baldwin V, his mother succeeds him as Sibylla of Jerusalem and appoints her disfavored husband Guy de Lusignan king consort. This comes as a shock to Jerusalem's court, who had earlier forced the possible future queen into promising that should she become so, she would not appoint him the title. The first nunnery is inaugurated in Iceland, the Kirkjubijar Abbey. 1187. By place. By place. Byzantine Empire. Levant. Spring, the Crusaders under Reynold of Chatelain attack a large Muslim caravan, including members of Saladin's family, journeying from Cairo. Reynold takes the merchants and their families with all their possessions to his castle of Karak. Saladin demands the release of the prisoners and compensation for their losses. This is refused by Reynold, who pays no attention to his order. March 13, Saladin leaves Damascus with his Muslim forces and sends letters. A week later, his younger brother Al-Adil, governor of Egypt, leads his forces out of Cairo towards Syria. Meanwhile, Saladin leaves an army under his 18-year-old son Al-Afdal at Basra to keep watch on the pilgrim road. April, King Guy of Lusignan summons his vassals and marches north to Nazareth. April 29, a delegation under Balian of Ibelin is sent to Tiberias to reconcile with Raymond Roman III, Prince of Galilee. After Easter, a second delegation supported by the Knights Templar and Knights Hospitaller is sent to Tripoli, but the situation remains unchanged. May 1 Battle of Cresson, a Muslim reconnaissance force some 7,000 men under Muzaffar al-Din Ghuppari, defeats a small Crusader army near Nazareth. Only Gerard de Wrightfort, commander of the Crusaders, and a handful of knights escape death or capture, the Muslims scattering and killing the Christian foot soldiers, some 400 men, before pillaging the countryside. June 26, Saladin regroups his Muslim forces and marches towards the Jordan River. His army numbers around 30,000 men and is divided into 3 columns. The following day, Saladin encamps on the Golan Heights in a marshy area near Lake Tiberias. Raiding parties are sent across the Jordan to ravage Christian territory between Nazareth, Tiberias, and Mount Tabor. June 30, Saladin sends a contingent to block Tiberias and challenges the Crusaders by moving his main camp closer to Safiria, some 10 km west of Lake Tiberias. On July 1, he sends scouts to monitor an alternative road on his northern flank that connects Safiria and Tiberias. The following day, he attacks Tiberias with a part of his forces, including siege equipment. July 2-3, Saladin besieges Tiberias. The defenders and Countess Eshiva Roman II, wife of Raymond Roman III, retreat to the citadel and sends messengers urging Guy of Lusignan to send help. Meanwhile, Guy and Raymond hold a war council to debate what should be done. Persuaded by Gerard de Wrightfort and Raynald of Chatelain, Guy orders to march to the rescue of Tiberias. July 4, Battle of Hattin. Saladin defeats the Crusader army, some 20,000 men, under Guy of Lusignan at the Horns of Hattin. Guy is captured along with many nobles and knights, among them Raynald of Chatelain. The latter is executed by Saladin himself. The Crusader states have no reserves to defend the castles and fortified settlements against Saladin's forces. July 14, Conrad of Montferrat, an Italian nobleman, arrives in Tyre, which ends the surrender negotiations with Saladin. He finds the remnants of the Crusader army after the Battle of Hattin and makes the Tyrians swear loyalty to him. Reginald of Sedan and several other nobles give their support. Reginald went to refortify his own castle of Beaufort on the Litani River. Summer, Saladin begins a campaign that paves the way for further Muslim inroads into Christian territory. Al-Adil invades Palestine with the Egyptian army and captures the strategic castle of Mirabel Majdalyaba. By mid-September, Saladin has captured the cities of Acre, Jaffa, Gaza, and Ascalon, blockaded by the Egyptian fleet, along with some 50 Crusader castles. September 20, October 2, Siege of Jerusalem. Saladin captures Jerusalem after the Crusaders led by Balian of Ibelin have surrendered the Holy City. The takeover of the city is relatively peaceful. Saladin agrees to let the Muslims and Christians leave the city, taking with them their goods. Balian joins his wife Maria Comnene and family in the county of Tripoli. Europe. Summer, pillage of Setuna. A fleet of Caerleons enters Lake Malor and ravages the coast. The marauders burn Setuna and kill Archbishop Johannes at Almerstaket in Sweden. Genoa takes Bonifacio in Corsica from Pisa. Pope Gregory Roman VIII reconciles the differences between the states so that both may be used to expedite shipments to the Holy Land. England. November, Richard of Poitou, son of King Henry Roman II, take the cross to help capture Jerusalem from the Muslims. He empties his coffers for the mission and makes a deal with King William the Lion of Scotland, giving him full feudal autonomy in return for cash. Africa. Almohad forces under Caliph Abu Yusuf Yaqub al-Mansur reconquer the city of Gabes, modern Tunisia, from the Almoravid pretender, Ali Banu Ghania. Asia. November 9, retired Emperor Gaozong dies at the age of 80, having abdicated 58 years ago, c. 1129, after a reign in which he re-established the southern Song dynasty until 1279. By topic. Economy. Orio Mastro Piro. Doge of Venice, secure loans from the Venetian nobility to finance the siege of Zadar. Pledging the income from the salt office becomes a staple of the city's finance. Religion. October 20 Pope Urban Roman III dies after a 2-1/2-year pontificate at Ferrara. He is succeeded by Gregory Roman VIII as the 173rd Pope of the Catholic Church. October Georges, Archbishop of Tyre, arrives in Rome and informs the papal court of the disaster of the Christian slaughter at Hattin by Saladin. October 29 Gregory Roman VIII issues the bull Audita Tremendi, proposing the Third Crusade and negotiates with Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa. December 17 Gregory Roman VIII dies after holding the papacy for only 57 days. He is succeeded by Clement Roman III as the 174th Pope of Rome. 1188. By place. By place. Europe. January 22 King Ferdinand Roman II dies after returning from a pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela. He is succeeded by his 16-year-old son Alfonso Roman IX, who becomes ruler of Leon and Galicia. He convenes at the Basilica of San Isidoro the courts of Leon with representatives of the nobility, clergy, and towns. These courtesies are considered to be the first parliament in Europe. Spring King Henry Roman II and Philip Roman II Augustus meet at Le Mans with Archbishop Georges or Josias in attendance. Both kings agree to peace terms and to contribute to a joint crusade. It is decided to raise a new tax to pay for the expedition. This tax, known as the Saladin tithe, is imposed on the people of England and France to raise funds for the Third Crusade. March 27 Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa holds a diet at Mainz and takes the cross, followed by his 21-year-old son, Frederick Roman IV, and other German nobles. He sends a delegation to present an ultimatum to Saladin in Syria on May 26, with demands to withdraw his Muslim forces from Palestina and to return the true cross to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. November Richard of Poitou, son of Henry Roman II, allies himself with Philip Roman II and pays him homage. He promises to concede his rights to both Normandy and Anjou. Henry is overpowered by Richard's supporters, who chase him from Le Mans to Angers. They force him to accept peace by conceding to all demands, including the recognition of Richard as his successor. The cutting of the elm and meeting of Henry Roman II and Philip Roman II in the field at Gizers, in Normandy. It marks the Franco-Norman peace negotiations, following the fall of Jerusalem c. 1187. Levant. Spring siege of Tyre. Muslim forces under Saladin withdraw from Tyre after a 1-2-month siege. For the Crusaders, the city port becomes a strategic rallying point for the Christian revival during the Third Crusade. May 14 Saladin begins a campaign and marches north but finds Tripoli too strong to be besieged. He decides to take other Crusader fortifications and signs an 8-month truce with Prince Bohemond Roman III of Antioch. May Saladin besieges the Hospitaller fortress of Krakdes Chevaliers in Syria. Seeing that the castle is too well defended, he decides instead to march on the castle of Margat, which he also failed to capture. July Saladin marches through the Bucaea and occupies Javala and Lataki. From Lataki he turns inland and takes, after a few days of fierce fighting, Sion Castle, called Castle of Saladin, on July 29. September 4 King Guy of Lusignan is released by Saladin after Ascalon is forced to surrender. Guy and his wife Queen Sibylla of Jerusalem seek refuge in Tyre, which is defended by Conrad of Montferrat. England. Spring Henry Roman II institutes legal reforms that give the crown more control over the administration of justice. He orders Newgate Prison be built in London. Archdeacon Geraldus Cambrensis and Archbishop Baldwin of Ford travel through Wales, attempting to recruit men for the Third Crusade. 1189. By place. by place. Europe. May 11, Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa sets out from Regensburg at the head of a German expeditionary force, some 15,000 men, including 4,000 knights. He has ensured that his lands are safe while he is away on crusade and leaves his son Henry VI in charge of the country. After leaving Germany, Frederick's army is increased by a contingent of 2,000 men led by Prince Jezza, younger brother of King Bilal Roman III of Hungary. On July 27, he arrives at Nis and is welcomed by Stefan Nemanja, Grand Prince of Serbia. In order to ease his passage, Frederick makes diplomatic contacts with Hungary, the Byzantine Empire, and the Seljuk Sultanate of Rum. July 6, King Henry Roman II dies at Chinon, near Tours, after doing homage to Philip Roman II Augustus and surrendering the territories around Issoudun in the Centre Val de Loire. He ends the hostilities against Philip by agreeing to the peace terms and pays him 20,000 marks in tribute. Henry is succeeded by his son, Richard I the Lionheart, as ruler of England. August, Emperor Isaac Roman II Angelos denies any crusader access and begins to hinder the German forces who try to cross the Byzantine frontier. Frederick I progressed with force by capturing Philippopolis and defeats a Byzantine army, some 3,000 men, that attempts to recapture the city. The Germans are delayed for 6 months in Thrace. King Sancho I the Populator turns his attention towards the Moorish small kingdoms called Taifas and begins a campaign in southern Portugal. With the help of Crusader forces, he conquers during the Reconquista the town of Sils. He orders the fortification of the city and builds a castle. Sancho styles himself King of Sils. November 11, King William Roman II the Good makes peace with Isaac Roman II. He abandons Thessalonica and other conquests, and dies childless at Palermo. The Sicilian nobles elect Tancred of Lex, illegitimate son of Roger Roman II, as the new ruler of Sicily, instead of Princess Constance and her husband Henry VI, to avoid German rule. Frederick I grants Hamburg the status of an free imperial city and tax-free access or free trade zone up the lower Elbe into the North Sea. He also grants the right to fish, to cut trees, and the freedom of military service. England. September 3, Richard I is crowned King of England in Westminster Abbey. During the coronation, a number of notable Jews are expelled from the banquet and rumours spread that Richard has ordered a massacre of the Jews. This causes anti-Jewish violence in London and York. Among those killed is Jacob of Orleans, a respected French Jewish scholar. William Marshall marries the 17-year-old Isabel de Clare, daughter of Richard de Clare. He becomes, through his marriage to Isabel, first Earl of Pembroke, acquiring huge estates in England, Normandy, Wales, and Ireland. December 5, King William I the Lion of Scotland gives Richard I 10,000 marks to buy his kingdom's independence. This overturns the Treaty of Falaise, which William had to sign when he was captured. December, Richard I sets sail with a Crusader army from Dover Castle to France. To ensure he has the allegiance of his brother John, Richard approves of his marriage to their cousin Isabella of Gloucester. Winter, John awards land to Bertram de Verdun, a Norman nobleman, and grants Dundalk its charter with town privileges, which becomes a strategic Anglo-Norman stronghold in Ireland. Levant. May, Saladin has reconquered the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem except for Tyre. The castles of Montreal and Carac are captured by Muslim forces. In the north, Saladin has regained the Principality of Antioch except for Antioch and the castle of Al-Qusair in Syria. August 28, Siege of Acre. King Guy of Lusignan moves from Tyre, where Conrad of Montferrat refuses to hand over the city. Guy and his Crusader army, some 7,000 men, including 400 knights, besiege Acre. He makes camp outside to wait for more reinforcements. September, Guy of Lusignan receives reinforcements of some 12,000 men from Denmark, Germany, England, France, and Flanders. He encircles Acre with a double line of fortified positions. On September 15, Saladin launches a failed attack on Guy's camp. October 4, Guy of Lusignan leads the Crusader forces to launch a full-on assault on Saladin's camp. With heavy casualties on both sides, neither force gains the upper hand. On October 26, Saladin moves his camp from Acre to Mount Carmel, modern Israel. October 30, an Egyptian fleet, some 50 ships, breaks through the Crusader blockade at Acre and reinforced the port city with some 10,000 men, as well as food and weapons. December, an Egyptian fleet reopens communications with Acre. The rest of the winter passed without major incidents, but the supply situation is poor in the besieged city. Asia. February 18, Emperor Xiaozong abdicates in favor of his son Huangzong as ruler of the Song dynasty. Xiaozong becomes a Taixing retired emperor and remains as the de facto ruler of China. By topic. Literature. August 29, Ban Kilin, Bosnian ruler, writes the Charter of Ban Kilin, which becomes a symbolic birth certificate of Bosnian language and statehood. Significant people. Births. 1180. August 6, Go-Toba, Emperor of Japan d. 1239. Alfonso Roman II Berengar, Count of Provence d. 1209. Berengaria, the Great Queen of Castile, and Leon d. 1246. Eric X. Knudsen, King of Sweden, approximate date. Fernan Gutierrez de Castro, Spanish nobleman d. 1223. Gilbert de Clare, English nobleman, approximate date. Gola de Roniers, Italian priest and bishop d. 1244. Hawise of Chester, English noblewoman d. 1143. Ibn Abaitei, Syrian historian and poet d. 1228. Kambar, Indian Hindu poet and writer d. 1250. Paulus Hungarus, Hungarian theologian d. 1241, 41. Philip of Iblin, Cypriot nobleman and regent d. 1227. Raimbout de Vaqueras, French troubadour d. 1207, 07. Robert de Bingham, Bishop of Salisbury d. 1246. Robert of Burgate, English nobleman d. 1220. Simon of Damartin, French nobleman d. 1230, 1181. March 22, Ibn al-Farid, Arab poet and writer d. 1234. June 21, Huijong, Korean ruler of Goryeo d. 1237, T737. Irene Angelina, Queen of Germany and Sicily d. 1208. Marino Morosini, Doge of Venice, House of Morosini d. 1253. Mathild of Angoulême, French noblewoman d. 1233. Xianzong, Chinese Emperor of Western Xia d. 1226, 1182, 82. September 11, Minamoto no Yori, Japanese shogun d. 1204. September 19, Reginald de Breas, Norman nobleman d. 1228. Alexios I Megas Caminos, Emperor of Trebizond d. 1222. Alexios Roman IV Angelos, Byzantine Emperor, approximate date. Alice of Vergy, Duchess and Regent of Burgundy d. 1251. Bouchard, Roman IV, French nobleman, House of Evesnes d. 1244. Leonor of Aragon, Spanish princess and countess d. 1226. Enguerrand, Roman III, French nobleman, House of Coucy d. 1242. Francis of Assisi, founder of the Franciscan Order d. 1226. Fujiwara no Tomoe, Japanese nobleman and poet d. 1258. Jachai, Mongol general and son of Genghis Khan d. 1227. Lutgardes or Lutgard, Flemish nun and saint d. 1246. Maria of Montpellier, queen consort of Aragon d. 1213. Sakya Pandita, Tibetan Buddhist leader d. 1251. Verdiana, Italian noblewoman and saint d. 1240–1183. Chagatai Khan, second son of Genghis Khan, Khan of the Chagatai Khanate d. 1241 or 1242. Philippa of Armenia, Empress consort of Niki 1184. April 11, William Longsword, Lord of Lunenburg d. 1213. Eleanor Beauty of Brittany, English Countess d. 1241. Fujiwara no Hideyoshi, Japanese nobleman d. 1240. 1240, 1240, 40. Higgs VI, Count of Alban House of Burgundy d. 1237. Jutta of Thuringia, Margravine of Mason d. 1235. William of Modena, Italian bishop and diplomat d. 1251–1185. April 23, Afonso Roman II the Fat, King of Portugal d. 1223. Alexander of Hales, English philosopher d. 1245. Angelus of Jerusalem, Israeli priest and martyr d. 1220. Dietrich v. German nobleman approximate date. Engelbert Roman II, Archbishop of Cologne approximate date. Fujiwara no Rise, Japanese Empress d. 1243. Gerard Roman III, Count of Gelders and Zutphen d. 1229. T9. Gertrude of Morania, Queen of Hungary d. 1213. Ingi Roman II Bardson, King of Norway d. 1217. Michael of Chernigov, Kievan Grand Prince d. 1246. Patrick Roman II, Anglo-Scottish nobleman d. 1249. Raymond Roger, French nobleman d. 1209. Robert Roman III, Count of Dux and Braine d. 1234. Shams Tabrizi, Persian poet and writer d. 1248. Tancred of Siena, Italian missionary d. 1240, 1186. May 18, Constantine of Rostov, Prince of Novgorod d. 1218. Date unknown. Queen Araca of Portugal, wife of King Afonso Roman II of Portugal d. 1220. Song Sai, Chinese physician and judge d. 1249. William Roman III of Sicily d. 1198. Ojdai, third son, and successor of Genghis Khan d. 1241–1187. February 23, Peter I Pedro, Count of Urgel d. 1258. March 29, Arthur Ior Arger, Duke of Brittany d. 1203. July 29, Ibn Abul Dam, Syrian historian and judge d. 1244. September 5, Louis Roman VIII the Lion, French king d. 1226. Elle of Salisbury, third Countess of Salisbury d. 1261. Condesalvus of Amarant, Portuguese priest d. 1259. Hassan Roman III, ruler of the Nizari Ismaili state d. 1221. Ibn Adlan, Ayyubid cryptologist and poet d. 1268. Koga Michitaru, Japanese nobleman and poet d. 1248. Liu Keqiang, Chinese poet and literary critic d. 1269. Peter I Mauclerc, Duke and Regent of Brittany d. 1250. Vladimir Roman IV Rurikovich, Kievan Grand Prince d. 1230 Nini 1188. March 4 Blanche of Castal, Queen and Regent of France d. 1252. March 24 Ferdinand or Ferrand, Count of Flanders d. 1233. November 26 Yuri Roman II of Vladimir, Kievan Grand Prince d. 1238. Albert Roman IV the Wise, German nobleman and knight d. 1239. Matilda I Countess of Nevers, Auxerre and Tunner d. 1257. C. Inthrafit, Ty founder of the Sukhothai Kingdom d. 1270–1189. Al-Mansur Nasir el-Din Mohammed, Ayyubid Sultan d. 1217. Archambaud Roman VIII the Great, French nobleman d. 1242. Ferdinand of Castile, Spanish Prince Infant d. 1211, the Levant. Pietro Pettineo, Italian comb maker and saint d. 1289. Peter Nolasco, French religious leader d. 1256. Skule Bardson, Norwegian nobleman d. 1240. 1240, 1240, 1240, 1240, 1240, 1240. Sukafa, founder of the Ahem Kingdom d. 1268. Yuri Roman II of Vladimir, Kievan Grand Prince d. 1238. Deaths 1180. January 23 Eberhard I, Count of Berg Altina B. 1140. 1140. January 29 Sobslav Roman II, Duke of Bohemia B. 1128. February 6 Teresa Fernandez de Traba, Queen of Leon. March 27 Al-Mustadi, Caliph of the Abbasid Caliphate B. 1142. June 20 Minamoto no Yorimasa, Japanese military leader B. 1106. Machihito, Japanese prince and son of Go Shirakawa. June 27 Tiran Shah, Ayyubid Emir Prince of Damascus. July 1 Stephanie the Unfortunate, Spanish noblewoman. August 11 William of Sens or Guillaume, French architect. September 18 Louis Roman VII the Younger, King of France B. 1120. September 24 Manuel I Camino's Byzantine Emperor B. 1118. October 6 Amalric of Nessel, French prelate and Latin patriarch. October 25 John of Salisbury, English philosopher and bishop. November 14 Lorcan Tuatile, Irish Archbishop B. 1128. Abraham Ibn Daud, Spanish Jewish philosopher B. 1110. Abu Tahir al-Salafi, Fatimid scholar and writer B. 1079. John Tzetzes, Byzantine poet and grammarian B. 1110. Jocelyn of Louvain, Flemish nobleman B. 1121. Rainerius of Split, Italian monk and archbishop. Zhu Shuzhen, Chinese poet and writer B. 1135–1181. January 30 Takakura, Emperor of Japan B. 1161. March 16 Henry I the Liberal, French nobleman B. 1127. March 20 Tera no Kiyomori, Japanese military leader B. 1118. March 13 Simon Roman III de Montfort, French nobleman B. 1117. April 1 Ulrich Roman II von Treven, Patriarch of Aquileia. Ark of Aquileia. April 5 Raman Beringer Roman III, Count of Provence. June 30 Hugh de Cavalillac, English politician B. 1147. August 30 Alexander Roman III, Pope of the Catholic Church. September 27 Gichard of Pontigny, French Archbishop. October 4 Hermann Roman II, German nobleman House of Sponheim. October 23 Adela of Mason, Queen Consort of Denmark. November 26 Roger de Pont-l'Evêque, Norman Archbishop. December 3 Galgano Guidati, Italian nobleman B. 1148. Adam the Welshman, Welsh theologian and bishop B. 1130. As Sali Ismail el-Malik, Sangid ruler of Damascus B. 1163. Lucas or Luke, Archbishop of Esztergom B. 1120. Serlo of Wilton, English poet and writer B. 1105. Zhang Shi, Chinese Confucian scholar B. 1133–1182. January 13 Agnes of Austria, Queen of Hungary B. 1154. May 12 Valdemar I the Great, King of Denmark B. 1131. May 16 John Komnenos Vatatzes, Byzantine general. July Maria Komnene, Byzantine Princess Poisson B. 1152. July Rainier of Montferrat the Caesar John, Italian husband of Maria Komnene Poisson B. 1162. July 25 Maria I, Countess of Boulogne B. 1136. August 1 Pietro da Pavia, Italian cardinal bishop. September 15 Robert Roman III, Italo-Norman nobleman. October 6 Richard Petch, Bishop of Coventry. Ahmed al-Kabir, Arab preacher and teacher b. 1119. Farrukh Shah Ayyubid, ruler and nephew of Saladin. Fujiwara no Kyoko, Japanese Empress b. 1122, 22. Henry I, Count of Guelders and Zutphen b. 1117. Hugo Etherianus, Italian cardinal and advisor b. 1115. Cyril of Turov or Kirill, Russian bishop b. 1130, 1130, 1130, 1130, 1130, 1130, 1130, 1130, Lee 1130, 1130, 1130, Lee 1130, 1130 and 30, 1130, 1130, 1130. Maria of Antioch, Byzantine Empress b. 1145. Sonam Simo, Tibetan Buddhist leader b. 1142. Zhao Baju, Chinese landscape painter b. 1120–1183. June 11, Henry the Young King, son of Henry Roman II of England b. 1155. October, Alexios Roman II Komnenos, Byzantine Emperor b. 1167. November 23, William Fitz-Robert, 2nd Earl of Gloucester b. 1116. Queen Gai, Korean Queen Consort b. 1184. January 2, Theodora Komnene, Duchess of Austria. January 13, Gerard Lapucelle, English Bishop b. 1117. February 16, Richard of Dover, English Archbishop. February 21. Amai Hira, Japanese military leader b. 1152. Minamoto no Yashinaka, Japanese shogun b. 1154. March 27, George III, King of Georgia, House of Bagration. March 28, Eckhebert or Egbert, German Benedictine abbot. June 15, Magnus v. Erlingsson, King of Norway b. 1156. July 29, Abu Yaqub Yusuf, Almohad Caliph Emir b. 1135. September 30, Arnold of Toroja, Catalan Grand Master. October 24, Siegfried, Prince Archbishop of Bremen b. 1132. 32. November 15, Beatrice I, Holy Roman Empress b. 1143. William de Beaumont, 3rd Earl of Warwick. November 18, Jocelyn de Bohun, English Bishop b. 1111. December 17, Simon de Tosney, Norman Scottish Bishop. Abu al-Bayan Ibn al-Mutawar, Jewish physician b. 1101. Agnes of Antioch, Queen of Hungary, approximate date. Andreas of Caithness, Gaelic Scottish monk and bishop. Grimaldo Canella, Italian nobleman, House of Grimaldi. Lai Tao or Renfu, Chinese historian and writer b. 1115. Pedro Fernandez de Castro, Spanish nobleman b. 1115. Sasaki Hideyoshi, Japanese nobleman and samurai b. 1112 and 12. Karen no Atsumori, Japanese warrior and samurai b. 1169. Karen no Kormori, Japanese nobleman, approximate date. Karen no Tadanori, Japanese warrior and general b. 1144. William de Vesci, High Sheriff of Northumberland b. 1125–1185. February 9, Theodoric I, Margrave of Lusatia b. 1130. March 16, Baldwin Roman IV the Leper, King of Jerusalem b. 1161. March 22, Sato Tsugunabu, Japanese warrior b. 1158. April 25, Battle of Dan no Yura, Antaku, Child Emperor of Japan b. 1178. Karen no Tikiko, Japanese Buddhist nun b. 1126. Karen no Norimori, Japanese nobleman b. 1128. Karen no Noritsune, Japanese nobleman b. 1160. Karen no Tamamori, Japanese nobleman b. 1152. Karen no Tsunamori, Japanese nobleman b. 1124. June 16, Risha of Poland, Queen of Castile b. 1140. Evan 40, he, in 40, he, in 40, Evan 40, Vin 40, Hen 40, Evan 40, Then 40, Evan 40, Evan 40, Evan 40, he, Evan 40. May 30, Constantine Makrodaukas, Byzantine nobleman. June 19, Terra no Monomori, Japanese samurai b. 1147. July 18, Stephen, Archbishop of Uppsala b. before 1143. September 11, Stephen Hegia Christophorites, Byzantine official. September 12, Ber 12, Andronikos I Kaminos, Byzantine Emperor b. 1118. John Kaminos, Byzantine co-emperor b. 1159. November 25, Lucius Roman III, Pope of the Catholic Church b. 1097. December 6, Afonso I the Great, King of Portugal b. 1109. Abd Allah el-Suhaili, Moorish scholar and writer b. 1114. Bhaskar the Teacher, Indian mathematician b. 1114. Fernando Rodriguez de Castro, Spanish nobleman b. 1125. Ibn Tufail, Arab Andalusian polymath and writer b. 1105. Male Iosa Uadalig, Irish chief, alim and writer, alim and writer, turned writer, and writer, turned writer, and writer, turned writer, and writer, turned writer, and writer, and writer, turned writer, turned writer, writer, and writer. Terra no Shideshira, Japanese General b. 1158–1186. January 26, Ismat ad-Din Khatam, wife of Saladin. May 29 or June 23 or June 24, Robert of Torigny. June 1, Minamoto no Yuki, Japanese warlord. August 19, Geoffrey Roman II, Duke of Brittany b. 1158. August Baldwin V of Jerusalem b. 1177. September 29, William of Tyre, Archbishop of Tyre B.C. 1130. December 8, Berthold Roman IV, Duke of Zähringen B.C. 1125–1187. February 18, Gilbert Folliot, Bishop of London b. 1110. March 18, Boguslaw, Duke of Pomerania b. 1130. May 1, Roger de Moulins, French Grand Master, Grandmaster, 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 Grandmaster. May 6, Reuben Roman III or Rupin, Armenian ruler b. 1145. July 4, Reynold of Chatelain, Prince of Antioch b. 1125. October 1, Yaroslav Osmamisl, Galician Prince b. 1135. October 20, Urban Roman III, Pope of the Catholic Church b. 1120–1120. November 9, Gaozong, Chinese Emperor b. 1107. November 10, Gudröder Olafsson, Norse King of Dublin. November 30, Fujiwara no Hidehira, Japanese nobleman. December 17, Gregory Roman VIII, Pope of the Catholic Church. Abu el-Hasan Ali ibn Rubertayer, Catalan mercenary general. Alexios Branas, Byzantine nobleman and usurper. Clairmbald of Arras, French theologian and writer. Gerard of Cremona, Italian translator and writer b. 1114. Gessalone Roman II, Italian nobleman, House of da Camino. Raymond Roman III, Crusader and Count of Tripoli b. 1140. B. 1140. Robert of St. Albans, English nobleman and knight. Rodrigo Alvears, Galician nobleman and Crusader 1188. January 22, Ferdinand Roman II, King of Leon and Galicia b. 1137. January 26, Eystein Erlingsson, Norwegian Archbishop. October 11, Robert I the Great, Count of Dux b. 1123. November 4, Theobald of Ostia, French abbot and bishop. November 17 Uzama Ibn Munki, Syrian poet b. 1095. December 14 Berthold I. Margrave of Istria and Carniole. December 22 Richard of Ilchester, Bishop of Winchester. Aoife MacMurrough or Eva Princess of Leinster b. 1145. Hugh the Chaplain, Bishop of Selrigmanade St. Andrews. Roger de Mowbray, English nobleman and knight b. 1120–1189. January 1 Henry of Marcy, French cardinal bishop b. 1136. January 20 Shizong or Wulu, Chinese emperor b. 1123. February 4 Gilbert of Sempringham, English priest b. 1085. March 4 Humbert Roman III the Blessed, Count of Savoy b. 1136. March 25 Frederick, Duke of Bohemia House of Primislade. June 15 Minamoto no Yashitsuun, Japanese General b. 1159. June 28 Matilda of England, Duchess of Saxony b. 1156. July 6 Henry Roman II Kirkmantle, King of England b. 1133. July 20 Moniko, Japanese Princess and Empress b. 1126. September 3 Jacob of Orleans, French Jewish scholar. October 4 André of Brienne, French nobleman and knight b. 1135. Gerard de Wrightfort, Flemish Grand Master b. 1140, 1140, a 1140, 1140, 1140, 1140, 1140, 1140, 1140, 1140, 1140, 1140, 1140, 1140, 1140, October 14 Fujiwara no Yasuhira, Japanese nobleman b. 1155. November 11 William Roman II the Good, King of Sicily b. 1153. November 14 William de Mandeville, English nobleman and Vari, Persian astronomer, poet and writer b. 1126. Benedict of York, English banker and monolinder. Benkei, Japanese warrior monk Sohei b. 1155. Conchobar Ming Meijua Conchobar, Irish king. Canon Roman II or Cano, Count of Montaigu and Duras. Elizabeth of Hungary, German Duchess b. 1145. Falmer of Carden, German Archbishop b. 1135. Geoffrey Riddle, English Bishop and Lord Chancellor. Hugh de Crecy, Norman nobleman and constable. Hugh de Paduinen, Scoto-Norman nobleman b. 1140, 1140. Richard de Morville, Scottish Lord High Constable. Romano Balbon, Italian cardinal and papal legate. William de Tracy, English nobleman and knight. References